Just like human hay fever, many dogs are allergic to pollen, mold, dust mites, sand, and other outdoor irritants. About 10 to 15% of dogs suffer from atopic dermatitis or environmental dermatitis, and certain breeds are more prone to it than others. These allergies often cause incessant paw licking, face rubbing, or chronic ear infections, and red, itchy rashes on the belly, armpits, or between the toes. And yes, those hot summer walks can turn into a red flag for your pup if they are sensitive, and they can be an absolute nightmare. Unlike pure food allergies, which only affect 1 to 5% of dogs, environmental allergies can strike seasonally or year round. The main triggers are grasses, trees, and weeds, pollen, plus indoor mold and dust. In short, if your dog is scratching more than usual and you have ruled out fleas, environmental allergies could be at play. Hi, my name is Sam. I'm a dog and cat nutritionist, and it's important for you to understand that I only specialize in nutrition. Today, we are going to cover the topic of environmental allergies in dogs, and I'm going to help you save thousands of dollars in the process. Now, what are some of the most common allergy triggers in dogs? The first one is environmental allergens. These can be pollen, trees, grasses, weeds, mold spores, and dust mites cause seasonal or constant itching. We then have food allergens. We have proteins like beef, chicken, certain dairy or grains, wheat gluten for example. However, food allergies are relatively rare and they constitute a very small amount of dogs. But they can worsen skin issues, and we are going to delve later on in the video on what you should feed your dog to minimize those food allergies and how you can save money on it. We then have flea saliva. Though it isn't really environmental, up to 30 to 40% of dogs react to flea bites with intense itching and hot spots along the back. So if your dog has been bitten lately, that could be another factor to take into account. Now, early signs of allergies often show up as skin issues. Common clues include chronic scratching, incessant scratching, chewing on paws or flanks, hair loss from rubbing, and frequent ear infections. Sneezing or nasal discharge can also occur. And so if you spot these symptoms, it's worth looking at your dog's environment and diet, because allergy relief often starts there. Other things to consider, other things to factor in are: have you moved property lately? Have you got new furnishings? Is there anything in the dog's environment that's new? Are you stressed? Is the dog stressed? Is it a different season? Is it now May? Is it now June? And the dog is now starting to itch a bit more than they did when it was November, for example. All those things play a factor. Have you gone down to the beach? Have you been up the woods, for example? All those things need to play a factor, and by you identifying those things, you can better prepare yourself for what could be a bit of a bumpy ride, because environmental allergies tend to come up time and time again. Now let's talk about diet as the foundation of allergies management. Good food is good food and bad food is bad food. When it comes to dog allergies, food is your first line of defense. Although environmental allergens trigger itching, what your dog eats can make all the difference in how severely they react. A good diet supports a healthy immune system and strong skin barrier. Many commercial kibbles are heavy on carbs and low on moisture, which can promote inflammation. In fact, a lot of those commercial dog foods contain at least 40% starches. This is far from the meat-rich diet dogs evolved to eat. We then have things with grains, with fillers. Instead, you need to feed high quality protein and healthy fats. For example, swap cheap grains for anti-inflammatory carbohydrates like a little bit of sweet potato or a little bit of pumpkin. Also include fresh, fiber-rich vegetables when possible. Not only do they add nutrients, but they also feed your dog's gut, the polyphenols, which are so important for good bacteria. So as a generic rule of thumb, I want you to turn the bag of food over that you are currently feeding your dog and all the treats, and I want you to not feed them anything that's highly vague. We don't want to see any corn starches. We don't want to see any corn protein meals. We don't want to see any wheat. We don't want to see any barley. We don't want to see any rice. We don't want to see any poultry byproduct meals. We don't want to see any meat byproduct meals. We don't want to see any bacon. We don't want to see anything that isn't a wholesome ingredient. What is a wholesome ingredient? Organic beef, free-range chicken, salmon, dehydrated mackerel. Those are wholesome ingredients. Meat byproduct meal is not a wholesome ingredient. It's a byproduct of the meat industry, and that can only exacerbate your problem. So you need to choose a real food free from common irritants. Offer novel protein. Think fish, duck, venison, reindeer. You want to see something that is so left field that your dog will not be sensitive to that particular protein. Chicken or beef tend to be the most common allergens, and same with pork, because they are so entrenched in our diets, whereby reindeer or moose or whatever, they aren't as prevalent. So this is a bit of an elimination diet. You can choose one single protein and you need to add low glycemic, fiber-rich carbohydrates whenever possible. And those carbohydrates can't make more than maybe say 20% of the dog's diet. For more information, I have done a full seminar on this and you can go and watch it. We also need to add healthy fats and oils like salmon oil for omega-3s, which are a tremendous anti-inflammatory boost. And these fatty acids can help calm the immune response. The problem with salmon oil though is that if you buy it from a squirty bottle, that is going to go rancid straight away. So I'd rather you give your dog salmon skin or salmon or anything salmon based like sprats or whatever, something fish, and that will contain natural omega-3s and they will not go rancid. We can also include fiber and fermented foods like kefir, for example, or a dog safe probiotic to support gut health. A balanced microbiome means a balanced immune system, especially if your dog has been dry fed forever. Dry food has been cooked at very, very high temperatures, often twice, and that process renders the whole nutrient profile of the food completely useless. What they do is they add nutrients and vitamins synthetically so that your dog gets some sort of nourishment. That is not real food. Those are not whole foods. So if your dog has been dry fed for a very long time, it is very, very likely that your dog is not being supported very well, that your dog is not being fed very well. Also, we can provide certain vitamins and antioxidants from real fruits and vegetables, but those vegetables cannot comprise more than 5% of the dog's diet, and they have to be pureed, they have to be pre-prepared for your dog. If you give your dog a full carrot, they will not be able to digest it because they don't have the right enzymes for it. You have to prepare it for them. If you can, feed in fresh whole foods or a cooked food. You can think homemade or a premium fresh frozen diet puts you in control of ingredients. That means no hidden preservatives, no hidden fillers that could flare up allergies. When you cook for your dog, sometimes you can tailor meals to their needs. I mean, we have a DIY recipe book where it puts you in control over your dog's diet. I'll include it down below. You can take a look at it. That could be an option. And at least you will have complete control over your dog's diet and you will be able to tinker with this protein, that protein. Very, very helpful. I'll leave it down below. Let's talk about the power of fiber and gut health. Fiber is crucial for dogs' digestion and immunity. It keeps stools firm, but more importantly, it feeds the beneficial gut bacteria. When friendly gut bugs ferment fiber, they produce short-chain fatty acids that tone down inflammation and strengthen the immune system. In other words, a fiber-rich diet can naturally calm allergic reactions from the inside. For example, pumpkin is loaded with soluble fiber that slows digestion and soothes upset tummies. Many dog foods actually include beet pulp for this reason. It's a mix of soluble and insoluble fiber that keeps things moving inside. If your dog isn't already eating some fiber, start slowly because too much change can cause gas or loose stool. What are some fiber-rich foods you can try? Rabbit ears with the fur. Anything furry is a phenomenal source of fiber. Cooked pumpkin or squash, pureed sweet potato, green beans, peas, and maybe a little bit of grated apple without the seeds. You can even sprinkle in small amounts of ground psyllium husk or chia seeds, and all these are going to help a healthy gut environment. A well-fed gut means a healthy immune system, which in turn can reduce the severity for environmental allergies. But remember, this doesn't make sense unless you steer away from a bad diet. If your dog is on a veterinary prescription diet, for example, and that veterinary prescription diet contains sugar, wheat gluten, rice, meat byproduct meals, or it contains 40, 50, 60% carbohydrates, this is not going to work. Even if the label says hypoallergenic, even if the label says cereals or whatever, that food is not going to be suitable. It's not going to be appropriate for a dog. It's literally going to be very, very high in carbohydrates, in fillers, and very, very low in high quality protein coming from animal sources. And you want to prioritize protein because if your dog is already struggling with an environmental allergy, the worst thing you can do is restrict protein. A lot of these commercial diets that hover between 25 and 30% protein, crude protein, is just not enough. It doesn't touch the sides. There is no downside of feeding your dog more protein. The more protein, the better. There isn't such a thing as too much protein. Your body and your dog's body either consumes protein or oxidizes protein. There isn't such a thing as too much protein. So the more protein, the better. Your dog has been optimized to breaking down high quality protein. And trust me, your dog is only going to benefit from being fed more protein. Now, how can we boost your dog's immune defense? A strong immune system can make allergy season much more bearable. Besides fiber, other diet and lifestyle factors play a role. Exercise and overall health do boost immunity. An active dog tends to have less inflammation. So yes, playtime isn't just fun, it's medicine. Nutritionally, supplements can also help if used wisely. For example, omega-3 fatty acids from fish oil are well known to ease skin inflammation. Fatty acids temper the allergic response, so adding a quality fish supplement is often a common recommendation. Probiotics or fermented foods can introduce beneficial bacteria directly. Fermented veggies can also slowly balance gut flora. Antioxidants coming from those fruits and vegetables that have been already pre-prepared so that the polyphenols can be released are also going to be phenomenal. Now, how can you soothe itchy skin and paws at home besides diet, besides any of these supplements? When the allergy itch strikes, gentle care can ease your dog's discomfort before you reach for meds. Coconut oil is a top natural remedy. It's rich in premium chain fatty acids like lauric acid that fight inflammation and microbes. In practice, that means rubbing organic coconut oil on red, dry spots can soothe itching and moisturize the skin. It helps repair the skin barrier so allergens have a harder time penetrating. If your dog has really bad rough spots or cracked paw pads, you can mix coconut oil with a little bit shea butter or jojoba butter, and you can apply this to your dog's pads at night and cover with a sock. By morning, their pads should be much softer in theory. I've done this and it works. Now, once we have exhausted all these natural things, we can talk about Apoquel. When should you use Apoquel or Cytopoint? With caution. Sometimes even all these steps aren't enough to calm the itch, and your vet may suggest medication. Apoquel is a prescription that many vets trust for allergy itch, and it absolutely works. It works really fast. In fact, it blocks the immune signals that cause itching. Unlike steroids, it rarely causes appetite increase or water drinking, making it a very popular choice. However, Apoquel or Cytopoint shouldn't be a long-term fix for allergies. It addresses the symptoms, the itch, not the underlying allergy or skin barrier. Because Apoquel alters the immune system's response, it can increase susceptibility to infections. For example, dogs on Apoquel may more easily get yeast or bacterial skin infections or have issues with mites if already predisposed. That's why I would emphasize using Apoquel sparingly. Typically, it's prescribed for short-term flare-ups to give the skin time to heal while you work on diet and other therapies. What we see all the times is dogs on Apoquel for 1, 2, 3 years without any breaks, without anything. The dog is just on Apoquel perpetually, and that's only good for Apoquel makers, and that's only good for vets. That's not good for your dog, because a dog on perpetual medication is an absolute tragedy. The strategy here should be, how can we get the dog off of Apoquel as soon as humanly possible? As soon as humanly possible, it might be 3 months, it might be 5 months, but no longer than 3 or 5 months. How can we get the dog off of Apoquel as soon as humanly possible? Maybe a month, who knows? Apoquel or Cytopoint can absolutely be a lifesaver for severe itching, but aim for the lowest effective dose and shortest duration. Always pair it with good supportive care. It should be one part of a multi-pronged plan, not the only solution. You cannot just rely on Apoquel or Cytopoint. Now, if your dog is struggling with allergies, do not feel helpless. You can take charge. One powerful way is by cooking at home with an allergy-friendly recipe. And no, you don't need to be a chef. That's why I've created the DIY recipe book full of simple, balanced meals tailored to dogs with sensitivities. The recipes use whole ingredients like single source proteins and cooked vegetables, so you eliminate all the guesswork about allergens. When you prepare the food, you'll know exactly what's going into your dog's bowl, giving you peace of mind and better results. But as a generic rule of thumb, you want to be reading everything that's going into your dog's body, like you would do with a baby with allergies, with a lactose intolerance. You would go ingredient by ingredient, you would go line by line, and you would try to ascertain what is going on, what potential allergen, what potential ingredient is causing or potentially causing the upset. And if you're still struggling after watching this video and implementing everything I have just said, I've also done other videos on allergies and seminars on allergies. I highly encourage you to watch those videos next, and you can actually book us for a consultation. You can book in the link down below. You'll be able to book a consultation down below, and you can get the one-to-one support that you may need, because every dog is going to be different. Every dog is going to be eating something different. Every dog is going to have a different profile, different medications, different background, is going to be a different breed, and you might not be all that clear about what you should do next. You can book it down below alongside all the resources that are absolutely invaluable.